What's going on, everyone? How's the quality look? I know. This is professional style Hollywood shooting, high quality video production that we have here at the W.A.D.E concept. But maybe I hired some staff, maybe I didn't. Maybe I went out and talked to Steven Spielberg. Look, I'm in, Orange County, Los Angeles area. Spielberg comes down and talks to me, every now and then, and gave me some tips on what I should be doing. Obviously, he offered me a contract to be the next Captain America when that role should open up. And from what I hear, it's opening up pretty soon. So, besides that, he just helped me out with my stream quality, and bam, here we are. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. It says my stream is a little laggy. So if it's lagging, let me know. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? We had to update the video quality of the stream. If you don't know, I've been using a C22. Here, it's actually right here. I've been using this guy. This is my Logitech C922. If you guys are interested, it's for sale. I've been using that for the last 2 years and wanted to find a way to work around that, and now we have. And so I don't know if anybody I have 2 people watching. If anybody has that same issue where you are looking to upgrade if you do video games or you talk MMA like we're going to talk today. By the way, let's get these energy levels up. All right, we're good. Getting a call from Phoenix, Arizona. Don't care. Sorry for your eardrums right there. Anyway, if you guys are looking for a specific type of way to improve your quality in your stream, I just went out and bought a mirrorless camera and stripped the battery, used an AC power unit. Yo, Shogun, what's good, baby? I'm blowing people's eardrums out right now. I need to calm down. But what's good, my man? My mans? Josh, what's going on, baby? What's cracking? Thank you guys always for being in here. What's the stream look like, guys? How's the quality? Thumbs up? Good stuff? Anyway, my window's open. Stuff getting in. Sorry. Long story short, if you guys are looking for better quality in your streams, I just use a mirrorless camera, stripped the battery, got it plugged into an outlet in the wall, and micro HDMI to my computer. And it runs off the encoder, which might be the reason that we're having some issues with the audio or issues with the stream right now. Anyway, what is going on, everyone? We had some fights last weekend, and part of the reason that we didn't get on Monday or Friday was because I was a little bit frustrated with the stream and the quality of the video, and I had felt like it was a little bit repetitive in the way I was doing the stream. So I'm going to have some questions for you guys after we get through all of our stuff today, and I think it's a good thing the way I want to take the stream. I just want to get, you guys are my people, man. I want to make sure it's good with you. But anyway, let's talk, man. So we had UFC Copenhagen this last Saturday, and I know it feels like an eternity ago and everyone's already covered the card, but I'm telling you guys, for one, we should have live streamed it. I didn't realize that Copenhagen had, I knew obviously it being close to Denmark, it was going to be, or in Denmark, it was going to be a different time zone. I just didn't realize the difference, and we should have live streamed it. I worked later in the day, so it would have been fine, but it is what it is. Why does my window keep doing that? Wind must be blowing. Anyway, the card was amazing. We had some big-time fighters on there. Unfortunately, a lot of the guys that I wanted to win, a lot of the Muay Thai guys like Khalil Roundtree, unfortunately got smashed by the Hulk. Yeah, it was a card that was like kind of right during the day, especially for me. It was like 11 a.m. start. I watched the entire main card, but I just fumbled the time, so it was, it is what it is. But yeah, so on the main card, let's take a look back here and see exactly what we watched. So we started with Nicholas Darby with a decision over Alex Oliveira. Cowboy Oliveira had a rough fight, man. Didn't seem to get going. And Oliveira, I don't say much like our other Cowboy, but when he starts stringing stuff together, he's very dangerous. And he just couldn't get going against Dalby, so good win for him. Our boy Oven St. Peru, after taking a beating in that first round against Mikel, and man, comes out and lands I'm telling you, this is the OSP choke now. Like, if anybody has any issue with me calling it the OSP choke or it being called the OSP choke, come see me, all right? Come see me. I've been training. My coach Ron at Team Oyama, he's been helping me, okay? My cardio's up. I've always been explosive with the shots now. I always been explosive. So you can catch one any day of the week. But now I got cardio. Now your boy ain't getting tired after that first combination. You understand? But anyway, I'm telling you, OSP, man, when he's finding new ways to set up this Von Flue choke. No, we're not calling it's the OSP choke. He's finding new ways to set it up. Like, he forced Kutilaba's head into, or excuse me, not Kutilaba, McCall's head into the position he wanted it to be in, and decided at that point he went from half guard, flipped over to side control, and boom, threw down the OSP choke, and he drives that shoulder into your neck. It's such an awkward choke because you think you're in a safe position, in on one arm over on the guillotine, and he just completely fools you. Timeout? Sorry guys, what is happening right now? There we go. Anyway, he completely fools you into thinking that you're safe, and then he slaps on that OSP choke, and you're done. You're completely done. He's driving his shoulder straight into your neck, and that's all she wrote for McCall, man. And he came out firing too, almost making OSP look a little rough on the feet. I mean, he was landing that left hand that he throws is nasty. Ton of power behind it. Ton of power. But my boy, Vol for life, stand up, Vols. I know football's not really going our way right now, but everybody throw up that V for L, if you know what I'm saying. OSP gets it done again, man. One of my favorite fighters to watch. A guy that can stop you in so many ways. Obviously, he has a submission that is super unique and not orthodox at all and super awkward, but also has got great hands when he can put it together. When he's fighting a guy that, that similar style. Obviously, his head kicks are devastating. So, yeah, a great win for OSP, man. Josh says cardio is the most important part of the fight game. I am learning that so much at Team Oyama, man. There are so many coaches over there that just, regardless of what we do, regardless of the combos we're putting together or the different things we're working on. Like today, we were working on feinting our way in. We were working on feints, and it's almost poetic that we were working on feints because we have, in the main event of what we're going to talk about at 243, ISREAL Adesanya is the king of feints, the king of making you think he's going one way and then completely changing what he's doing, or off of that feint, reading what you react to, and then hitting you with that corkscrew uppercut. He said he's been a fan of Prince Nassim like I was, and so he utilizes that kind of jab, uppercut, corkscrew. First the feint, and then he'll throw something behind it, and then he comes with a question mark kick. So a perfect kind of segue into that later, but today we're working on that. But man, it was just the cardio. Like, he had us doing not only the feinting and then the combos after it, but then we'd sprawl, and then we would bear crawl from gym to gym, or side to side through the gym, and then we'd come back and hit like 3 or 4 more combos. So it was a fun day today. But man, that's why I had to get the energy levels up. I am tired. Oh, but yes, OSP with a nice victory, submission, the OSP choke. And if I hear any of you refer to it as the Von Flue choke again, I'm going to put it on you. 0 grappling experience. I'm still going to put it on you. Facts. Anyway, and then we had the fight. I was kind of not disappointed in. I I was frustrated because I really thought that I was going to see the next evolution of Khalil Roundtree in this next fight. And that's Khalil versus Cutelaba. And Cutelaba, they call him the Hulk. And Jesus Christ, if he's not the Hulk. That dude, he's a year younger than me. Looks like just an absolute shit brick house. Stud. And walks the walk too, man. Because he got, I think at the ceremonial weigh-ins, he got right in Khalil's face and screamed at him. I don't know what that was, but that's just, maybe that's his personality. It's just the intensity he brings to every fight, I wonder if he's like that in real life, where he's just like gets out of bed, does his stretching, and just gets right in someone's face and screams right as he wakes up. Or he's like laying down to go to bed and gets down on the pillow and he's all, goes crazy. That fool is intense. I don't want any part of that guy. And yeah, he just had too much grappling for Khalil, man. It was frustrating because Khalil looked to be in great shape again. Looks like every fight he comes into, every one of these new fights that he takes out of Tiger Muay Thai, and he's almost overly becoming a Muay Thai practitioner, like to the point where it's like detrimental to the roundabout way his game is working, which is unfortunate. But he looked good. His strikes were crisp. Those leg kicks, the body kicks, the punches, he was throwing them with heavy hands, quick. But at the end of the day, he had no grappling defense for Cutelaba, and the constant pressure, he just couldn't get off shots. And Cutelaba TKO'd him later in the first round with just punches from the ground and pound. Another guy in that light heavyweight division, I would say like 15 through, unranked 25 or whatever at light heavyweight. There's some really young, hungry guys in that kind of dead space that are climbing up that ladder. Even Khalil was one of those guys for me. I know he's not necessarily the youngest in the world, but those guys are climbing up that ladder, and you're going to see guys like Cutelaba, and you're going to see guys like Johnny Walker, Dominic Reyes, who is, above that at this point. But you're going to see these guys, they're going to be around this title picture for a long time. So they're guys to keep an eye on. And with his style, Cutelaba could possibly, while he doesn't have a ton of the, technique stand-up wise at the moment. His ground and pound's ferocious. His cardio and his pressure is insane. So definitely a great recipe at that division to be around for a long time. And then we had Gunnar Nelson and Gilbert Burns. Not too much to see here. Gilbert Burns really kind of pushed the pace on Gunnar. Gunnar wasn't very offensive outside of the first round. The first round he landed a couple of good shots. Gilbert was landing on him, was even in the grappling exchanges, looked to be the aggressor. Didn't look like Gunnar could really hold him against the cage or do any significant damage in that position, unfortunately. But Gilbert landed some good shots. I think he wobbled Gunnar at one point, and a decision win for Gilbert. I would have thought both these guys, incredible grapplers, but Gilbert Burns has really brought his striking along. So, Gilbert with a huge win. Gunnar got to go back to camp at SBG and figure out what it is. He even came into that fight talking about how he needed to pull the trigger more, and that was kind of what was holding him back. Was he was getting in the right positions and just could not pull that trigger, or just couldn't. He needed to be more offensive, and he wasn't. So back to the drawing board there. Maybe in a couple hard sessions with an Irishman getting ready to fight. Possibly more rumors keep coming out, and I hear it could be a grappler. Maybe that's just what Gunnar needs to up his level too. Just saying. I don't know. But maybe late December. Maybe that December 245 card, even though they just booked Colby and Usman, maybe an early January card. Who knows? But then we had Jared Cannonier, Jack Hermannson in our main event. And guys, going into this fight, I had seen Jared Cannonier. I had seen the fight with Anderson Silva. I had seen the devastating leg kick. I almost didn't want to go back and watch it, but I did, just because you don't want to see a legend like Anderson hurt. I don't know if it was the same leg that he twisted around Chris Weidman's leg like a car around a light pole, but I don't remember if it was the same leg or not. But he got kicked, got kind of shinned on that leg, and it definitely, whatever it did, it hurt him badly in that moment, enough for them to stop the fight. And I don't know if he broke any bones. I don't think Jared Cannonier broke any of his bones or anything. I think it was just one of those kicks that just left him. Could have given him that dead leg that you saw with Henry Cejudo in the Demetrius Johnson fight, or Michael Chandler, I think, in the Brent Primus fight. That kind of couldn't move and looked like the ankle was just kind of rolling around. I don't know if it was that. I know it was his lead leg, so they stopped the fight. And Jared Cannonier, at that moment, entered my mind as somebody to take seriously because he'd had a run at heavyweight, and he had knocked some guys out, and he had a run at light heavyweight, and then he'd gotten the middleweight and started to put some really good wins together. He had gotten knocked out a couple of times as well, but started to really put some good wins together. And after that fight, you roll into this Jack Hermannson fight, and all the money is on Jack Hermannson. I think he was a plus 230 dog, Jared Cannonier was, and even me, I'd seen Jack Hermannson. I'd seen him, or I don't know, is it Hermannson? I think it's Hermannson. I'd seen his grappling skills. I'd seen him be able to take guys like a Jacare to the ground and be able to have his way with him. And so going into this fight, I was almost sure, and I had seen Jack, his stand-up game not, necessarily being devastating, but I'd seen him hold his own against guys. And so going into this fight, you almost think he's next in line for this 185 title outside of, Kelvin and Darren Till. This is the guy, this is the guy that is fighting right around the same time as our champions this weekend. And with a win, he kind of solidifies that number one contender spot, So this is, going into this fight, I'm like, okay, Jack Hermannson. And then Jared Cannonier comes out, guys, and just overwhelms this guy. Gets taken down really quickly. And someone, I can't remember who it was, but someone was talking about the fight and made such a good point. They said that Jack Hermannson was very, I think it might have been Chael, and you guys know I'm a huge Chael fan, so I always will give credit when I hear his stuff. He said that Jack Hermannson had come out with a purpose, with an intent, right? That he came out alert right away and had a plan and started just going for it, almost to the point where it looked as if he was trying to be assertive, but too far to where he was being more frantic. Like it looked like he was frantically trying to get a takedown, not setting the tone, not like trying to establish a game plan early. Those things, yeah, he was doing, but it was almost to a detriment to where it looked like he was frantically trying to get that takedown, as if to say, I can't stand with this guy. Like it's a matter of time if I try to stand with this guy before I get knocked out. And at first, the fight starts, and he immediately gets Cannonier to the ground. I think he even got his back for a second. But Jared Cannonier pops right back up, stays calm, by the way. You're talking about Jared Cannonier, a guy that just started fighting at 27. It's around my age, by the way. Just to let y'all know. It's around my age. Anyway, started fighting at 27, was an air, I think they said he was an air, I don't know if he said he was an air traffic controller or if he was working in the on something in the airports in Alaska, and starts fighting, and a guy to walk into Copenhagen and basically, Jack Hermansson's backyard, and all the fans there being Jack Hermansson, pro Jack Hermansson, being a 230 underdog, and to be that calm in that environment after just doing MMA now for 8 years, you can't teach that kind of nerves of steel. You can't teach that kind of composure. And Jared Cannonier just stayed calm, ended up peeling the arms off, getting up, and when he got up, you want to talk about power. Yeah, Shogun, this fool is a beast. Those leg kicks the leg kicks he was landing were snapping Jack Hermansson. He was not only landing power, but he had just endured a guy on top of him for a good 2 minutes, but was able to still retain explosivity, which was another thing that impressed me. It wasn't just his power, but it looked like he was learning, like from the last fight I'd watched with Anderson Silva to this fight, it looked like he was learning how to play shots, how to feint, as we'll talk about with ISREAL Adesanya in a little bit, how to manipulate those situations to get Jack Hermannson into a spot where he could land a big shot. You just saw a poise about him. You saw him be able to almost play with Jack Hermannson a little bit on the feet. And then at the end of the first round, he was starting to come forward, and he figured out the problem, right? He figured out the grappling exchanges from Jack Hermannson, who can take guys down pretty easily. Where he, it isn't necessarily the same as like a wrestler who will chain together, like American wrestlers who chain together a lot of different takedown attempts. What is it? I don't hope you guys can't hear that. I don't know what that is. I don't want to turn my computer sound off though. How do I mute this? Oh my God. What is happening? Stop that. All right. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, it didn't look like. Okay, we're just gonna do this then. I don't know what's happening in my computer. Anyway, so yeah, should I just stop talking? What is this, dude? How do I mute that? Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, seriously, dude, hackers taking over my computer. Now, what it is the company I work for outside of this doing video editing and stuff, they send a lot of stuff to my Adobe Creative Cloud, and it literally send it as I'm doing my podcast. It's the most frustrating thing I can deal with right now. Anyway, appreciate it, Josh. So yeah, it looked like he had learned that Jack Hermannson only really had a one like super powerful shot and was dealing with that problem and started to stuff takedowns. And not only when he was stuffing, he was using the correct underhook to get out, right? He was escaping on his underhook side and then retaking a dominant position. So Jared Cannonier is learning this stuff, guys, and he's learning it very quickly. And not only that, you couple it with the fact that a guy that used to fight at heavyweight is now, through his diet or some sort of Wade, what is going on? My man. Who is that? Brazilian American patriotic soldier. Hey, dog, what is cracking? Brother, thank you for being in here with me, man. I appreciate it. I'm chilling. We're talking fights. We're talking UFC 243. Appreciate you being in here, my man. But yeah, so you saw Jared Cannonier start to figure out that puzzle. And then you combine that with the fact that a guy that used to be at, I think he was 240 or 230 when he was fighting at heavyweight, has found a way through his diet or through his training methods now to get himself to 185 and still carry that power, but then use, and this is, we're looking at a very small sample of Jared Cannonier at 185, but use that while maintaining some sort of fitness, some sort of cardio. This dude's scary, guys. And in that second round, he showed exactly why he was scary. Jack Hermannson shot in on another takedown, and it looked to be pretty easily noticeable that he was going to take that shot. And Jared Cannonier stepped back and hit him with an uppercut. And while we couldn't really see a good view of how it landed, we saw enough from Jared Cannonier's back, his neck popping back, to know that it hit hard. And from there, he just got on top, and the vicious ground and pound that he possesses. And then after, this is almost like more telling to me what kind of guy Jared Cannonier is. After he gets done, he gets up and is in that killer mindset, right, where he's just stalking around the octagon, stalking, like nothing over, no like overly crazy celebration, no kind of jumping over the cage. At one point, I think he did jump on the cage and waved to everyone, but no crazy throwing the mouthpiece, talking anything, just calm and composed and just stoic, right? And then he gets on the mic and has a great interview talking about where he came from, some people in his life that unfortunately, had some things happen. And then, just a genuine guy. So all those things, you combine a guy that hits like a Mack truck. I mean, like a Mack truck going 100 miles an hour on the freeway, and there happens to be a pigeon eating on some sort of nut or something on the ground. That's a GG. Like you don't even see the pigeon anymore. He just obliterates it, right? That's the way this guy hits. And to do that and maintain some sort of cardio, and now to figure out how to either stuff takedowns or be in a composed state when he's in a position of danger. Scary dude, man. Because all those things combined, you think about the guys at the top of the division, right? You think about a Robert Whitaker. He puts a pace on guys. That could be an issue, but from what I saw during that little exchange, I know it was a very small sample. That could be an issue. You look at a guy like Kelvin Gastelum, I think Jared Cannonier is a good matchup for him. I think that power is something you really can't mess with too much. If in the way Kelvin kind of stays in the pocket sometimes, and he wants to kind of box with you, and he's got crisp boxing technique, but he gets hit. And as big as his head is, I know he can take some shots, but this is different, man. So I want to see Jared Cannonier and what he's going to do next, but a solid win for him, and we're looking at a contender, guys. I said it. I tweeted this after the fight. This is a contender, and this guy's, he's 35, so I don't know how long he can continue at this level, but at that right now he looks amazing. So maybe I'm just a prisoner of the moment and I'm going too crazy, but I think he's something special, man. Weight Watchers, yeah. Seriously, it may be. I don't know how you get from fighting at 230 to getting down to 185. Who knows? I don't know if he was just eating Wendy's all the time. Shout out to Wendy's. Wendy's is fire. But yeah, that was our card. And now, guys, we have one of the best cards, if not the best card in Australian fight history. I think it's the biggest card in Australian/New Zealand fight history. It has to be. I mean, you would think it has to be. This thing's, if it hasn't already, it's going to sell out. Unfortunately, we did have Holly Holm and Raquel Pennington get bumped, which is, like I said, unfortunate. But outside of that, there is a really good card we have here. I mean, we have Diego Lima, obviously Douglas Lima's brother, on the card. We have Tai Tuivasa on the card. We have Dan Hooker, Ally Quenta on the card. And obviously our main event, Robert Whitaker, the Reaper, versus ISREAL Adesanya. 17-0 interim champion Israel Adesanya and our middleweight champion of the world, Robert Whitaker. Guys, we're not doing predictions today because we're going to do those later this week, but this is a really, really good card. And not just for the fact that we're going to have a little bit of blockade kind of lifted in the middleweight division, but because these two guys have a history as far as not necessarily beef between each other. Why isn't Holm and Pennington going to happen? I think Holly got injured and pulled. Let me double check though. Don't want to be. Let's see. Yeah, she had a tendon injury. If it's a bicep tendon, then I feel her pain. Oh, it's a hamstring. I guess she pulled her hamstring or had a hamstring issue. Those suck, man. But it's so hard to try to be explosive. And Holly, obviously, with her striking, is super explosivity based, right? When she throws a lot of shots. And her kicks, obviously, are all that's hamstring. So that's a little tough. But I think they'll reschedule that. I think Raquel even came out and said that'll be rescheduled. Which is a fight I want to see. That's a great fight. But for now, we have this card. I'm surprised that my boy, who was the 205er that I really am a big fan of, Tyson Pedro. My boy Tyson Pedro's not on this card. I don't know if he's injured or what happened, why they couldn't get him on the card, but that dude, he's one of my favorite fighters too. I like the way he fights. But this main event is what we're going to talk about. Yeah, Holly's getting toward that point in her career where it's, you got to get some wins. And she's kind of in that weird spot too because she's already lost to Amanda. She's already lost to Jermaine Durandame, even though I thought she won the fight. Now she's lost to Cyborg, who's out of the promotion, granted. So maybe the 45 title, should Amanda not defend it, or I don't know what's really going to happen there, but maybe that could be something for Holly. I mean, she has potential fights up there, if she would like to do that, but at 35, it's a little bit of a blockade, and she's in that weird spot where she's beating a lot of girls, and some of those girls aren't fighting anymore. So you have a new kind of breed of girls that she's going to have to either hold off for her spot or yeah, like Josh said, it's gonna get rough. I don't think we'll get cut to be of a name still. Oh, you don't think she'll get cut? I'm not saying that she'll get cut. I think she would retire before she got cut, unless she just went on like a 4-fight lose streak or something crazy. But Holly's talked about the fact that she doesn't know how long she's going to keep doing this on multiple occasions. So it's just, when you talk to Holly and you hear her talk, it doesn't seem like, and she's always been really quiet and mild-mannered and, coming up to the fight stays inside herself, but it doesn't seem like this is going to be too much longer for Holly. And I love the way she fights. I think she can surprise a lot of people still, and I think she has a lot of wins left in her. But at the top of the division, I don't know if she solves that puzzle. And that's the only, I mean, if that's the goal, to be champ again, I don't see that happening, unfortunately, unless it's at 45 and Amanda doesn't defend both, or they making, a vacant title fight or something like that. But yeah, it sucks for Holly. And yeah, like I said, I wish they had Tyson Pedro on this card, but Dan Hooker, Ally Quenta is a big fight, and Dan rising up in that lightweight division, another guy, and that's 155 division, that's a killer, and Ally Quenta just trying to stay in that, top 10 range and top 5 possibly, because obviously Cowboy had his number, but some huge wins for Al and some big performances. So him going across the pond and taking on Dan Hooker's a big fight. Dan Hooker is a big 155 or two, and he packs a ton of power. So this could be fireworks. That co-main could be fireworks. You know what I'll say? I'm not going to say that co-main is going to be better than the main event, because there's no chance. But this could be one of those fights that people are looking at as, this is going to be a good fight. This could be one of those fights that rivals the main event for fight of the night, because that is, even if it's 3 rounds, that's going to be fireworks. Dan Hooker brings it, man. Walks forward, brings it. Ally Quenta brings it. Tai Tuivasa, obviously a knockout artist, a heavyweight. Hopefully the cardio's fixed for Tai. I don't necessarily think that that's something he's going to care about, to be honest. I think he's going to come out and throw bombs. And if he doesn't get it done in the first or second, then possibly he gets overwhelmed. But we're not doing predictions, guys. We're not. Not today. But yes, let's talk about this main event, man. Let's talk about it. And let's talk about it more on just the story that we're laying out here. And it's pretty obvious to me anyway. It's Australia versus New Zealand, even though Whitaker is a New Zealander, if I'm not mistaken. He was born in New Zealand and moved to Australia. But that's the story being built. The Aussies versus the Kiwis, right? ISREAL Adesanya obviously representing Nigeria and New Zealand, and Robert Whitaker representing Australia. And what a better way, there's no better way to put this. There's no better way to build this fight, because both guys, yeah, ISREAL talks a little bit and has tried to make this a back and forth, and Robert's not really going to engage in it. Robert Whitaker's never been that guy. He even says, look, I have respect for ISREAL. I just, he's the next big fight for me. He's the next big challenger. And ISREAL's going to do his best to sell and to talk about, the things that he's going to do. But yeah, Robert's just not going to engage in it, and they're going to go and fight. That's the end of the day. Anytime Robert Whitaker is on the card, you're going to get 2 things: an amazing fight and almost zero fight promotion. Zero. Like he won't engage in it. And I respect it about the guy. He has a job. He's going in to do the job. And, some guys try to engage in that when it's not their personality, and it definitely throws them off. Sometimes being outside of yourself is harder to maintain and train for your fight and give the energy you need to give to the fight itself. And then some guys like ISREAL, like Connor, like Kevin Lee almost feed off of that. They feed sometimes off of the back and forth. So, but in this case, it feels like, I don't know if you guys have been watching these press conferences, but it feels like Robert Whitaker, by not engaging, is almost looking better because of it. Like ISREAL Adesanya almost becomes frustrated that Robert won't engage him. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Like when ISREAL starts to make a point about something, like, oh, well, Robert Whitaker he's been tweeting, guys. He's been tweeting. And Robert's like, yeah, I retweeted a picture that somebody sent me. That's what I did. Like ISREAL tries to make this hard stance, like, oh, he's been talking that shit about me. Y'all saw him on Twitter? And Robert's like, well, it was a fan that sent it to me. I just retweeted it. And it just immediately shuts it down. And ISREAL is like explaining in this huge diatribe why it was disrespect and how he's going to make him pay for it. And I get it. ISREAL is the showman. He's trying to sell that fight, and he's trying to, in some form at least, gauge where Robert's head is, right? Because you can say it's fight promotion all day and it's just business, but there is a little bit of the trash talking era that we're in. There's a little bit of that is gauging where your opponent's psyche is, right? Gauging where it is that they have either a mental weakness or they're doubting themselves in certain areas, or if you can pick up on something that they do or say that could help you in the fight, it's not a big deal, and I don't think a lot of people put that much effort into it, but there is a portion of that goes toward it. So But to me, it seems like Israel becomes more frustrated the more they do these press conferences and these interviews because he can't get a reaction out of Rob. He can't get a tell out of him. And I don't know if this is like, they say sometimes that your words manifest physically, right? Or your mind works through your words the same way it works through your physical actions sometimes. And hear me out. Could it be that Israel Adesanya is such a good feinter, right? The way he feints in his fights, he's a feint. And then he throws his combos or he throws the devastating kick or the hit. Do they both get a pay-per-view cut for the main event, or is only the champ that does? I think the champion gets a portion of pay-per-view. So they're both champions. So and then in turn, yes, they would both get a portion of pay-per-view revenue because they are both champions. Usually, I think the way it works is going into, or I don't know how you do that though, because I'm sure like Nate and Connor, when they fought for the second time, I think that prior to that fight, they negotiated to receive, because they were the main event, even though neither of them at that time were, Connor was a champion at 45, but he wasn't fighting a championship fight. I think they had negotiated for both parties to get a portion, I don't know what the cut is, of that pay-per-view. But because Israel and Robert are pay-per-view, are champions, they will both receive a cut. But to go back on what I was saying, Israel does a lot of feigning physically in the fight, does a lot of feigning, whether it's his head moving, whether it's the classic twisting of the back foot to set up a kick or a stomping of the front foot, or just throwing the hands out there, those corkscrew uppercuts. What if, guys, hear me out, what if he's verbally feinting Robert Whitaker, right? He's verbally trying to draw a reaction out of Robert. And this happens all the time. But because Robert isn't reacting, it's frustrating Israel, and he's reaching. He's reaching for things like Twitter. He's reaching for things like Robert leaving New Zealand for Australia to gain some sort of either self-confidence or an ability to try to manipulate the conversation around the fight to say, well, I'm making him pay. This is why I'm doing it, because he left New Zealand, because he's on Twitter talking shit to me. What if that manifests itself into the physical fight? And we're not making predictions today, but let's just go back to the Kelvin fight. What happened when Israel Adesanya was feinting and it wasn't working, or when his timing wasn't correct, and when Kelvin just blasted through him? Kelvin had a lot of success. Kelvin hit, and if you go back and watch that fight, Kelvin hit Israel a lot in that second round. Clipped him in the first. Hit him a lot in that second round. All because Israel was trying to feint on the outside. Kelvin was coming through blasting shots, as if to say he wasn't fazed by the feints that Israel provided. And I know maybe, like I said, I get too far into things sometimes and I go full like conspiracy mode, but every time I watch these two on stage, Robert seems to be composed within himself. Israel seems to be reaching, whether it's for fan reaction, whether it's for reaction from Rob, whether it's for, like I said, some sort of self-confidence feeder to make himself, believe he's doing something for either his people or himself to overcome the guy that left or whatever it is. It just seems like that Robert has kind of thwarted all those efforts. And obviously, this is still a fight, and there's going to be 5 rounds of it. So there's no way that Robert's going to have all the success and Israel's going to have none of it. I don't think Robert steamrolls Israel Adesanya. But as cerebral as Israel says he is, and he is a fantastic striker. Fantastic. I love the way he fights. He is right up there for me with the Prince Naseems, with guys like Anderson Silva. Just his technique and his skill alone, he is up there. He has skills like that. And I love watching him fight. I'm just taking what I'm seeing in these press conferences and scratching my head as to why they seem to get under Israel's skin as much as they do. For a guy that, seems to be cool, calm, and collected after every fight, after every interview. In that case, it seems like it gets inside him and frustrates him a little bit. That's all I'm saying. We're not making predictions yet, because I could very well go and pick Israel. I could very well just contradict everything I just said and go and pick Israel, just based off of the skill he has and watching him. I don't know too much about Robert Whitaker's offensive takedown or his offensive grappling ability, but I've seen Israel defend takedowns well enough to where it doesn't concern me. From high level wrestlers, from Kelvin, from Derek Brunson, I've seen him be able to either defend those takedowns or get up off of the ground after being taken down very quickly and correctly. So yeah, it's a good fight. We're going to talk about it more Friday. Let's talk really quickly about that Bellator card in Dublin, Ireland. It was a good card, guys. Before we get out of here, yeah, really quick, we're going to talk about that card, and then I got to go. You boys got to go to work. Oh, you know what? We'll talk about this really quick, and then we'll talk about what I want to do with the podcast. Almost forgot. Jesus. So, Bellator 228 was kind of a stinker, let's be honest. But 227 was a fun card. It was a fun... Oh, no. What happened? What just happened? OBS, why am I frozen on the screen here? Hold on, guys. There we go. Sorry about that. I have no idea what that was. My apologies to the people watching on YouTube. I do not know what happened right there. Yes, Shogun, I appreciate it. I think I gotta figure this camera out still. This is my first trial with it, so I gotta still figure that out. Anyway, 227. We saw Benson Henderson beating Miles Jury. That's a little bit of a blast from the past. Benson Henderson doing some really good things at the MMA lab, though. Part of the reason that Jared Cannonier is where he is in his career, Benson Henderson. I'm telling you, Shogun, I'm getting straight up hacked right now, dog. What is happening? And then we had Peter Queally with one of the most gutsy performances in Bellator history for sure against Ryan Scope. Ryan Scope comes out, blasts him with a big shot, puts him down, and comes back Queally comes back and survives somehow after he got put down. Not only did he get clipped, he got rocked and was scrambling around trying to get his bearings. Finally grabs a hold of Ryan Scope, gets to his feet after a long battle on the bottom, just trying to stay alive. I thought it was going to be stopped, and you could tell there was, as soon as he got up, and that Dublin crowd, of course, the Irish crowd is an amazing crowd to begin with, but they get up and they're roaring in that arena, and I'm watching it on my phone, and I can barely hear the announcers, so you can imagine what it sounded like in the actual arena. They're roaring, and at that moment, you just thought, at least I did in my head, momentum switch. And Peter Queally must have felt it because he just walked right forward on Scope, landed a big shot to the body. That doubled him over. And he's landed a couple of combos. Scope hits the ground, and he finishes it off with some ground and pound. And that place blew the roof off. It was so loud. And again, on my phone, I would love to go watch a fight in Dublin. I think that crowd is amazing. I think that you can't recreate that type of fan base outside of this, the passion that they show outside of like Brazil, I guess you could say Mexico, but after Mexico City, you can't recreate that. This is like their Super Bowl when their fighters fight in their hometowns or in their home countries. You don't get that in MMA all the time. So to see that was insane, man. And then you had Richard Keeley, who is another Irishman, get knocked cold by Michael Venom Page, man. That flying knee is insane. That dude is talented. Unorthodox. The way he comes in for strikes. I mean, he has the snake. He's Michael Venom Page. He almost moves like a snake. It's so like awkward and, like I said, unorthodox. And the way he gets it done, man, he's so explosive too. He gives that lean in, then charges in with the right hand and the left behind it. Had a little bit of a weird deal there with Dan Miragliotta. I don't know if you guys saw that, where he was like, I guess, cursing at Michael Venom Page and even admitted it, which is a terrible look for Dan Miragliotta. Obviously, you want to be a human in that moment, and Michael Venom Page is doing things that you don't consider to be sportsmanlike. You're a referee, you're an official, you have to remain unbiased and impartial. You have to. You don't see Conor McGregor getting a finger wagged at him for asking Dustin Poirier what he has and calling him words I can't say on YouTube, or, saying stuff to any of the fighters, or people flipping people off. Like, it happens. They're fighters. They're in a cage fighting each other. It is what it is, man. You can't lose your composure as a referee. And, to warn a guy because you're on TV and he's dropping F-bombs, I get it. But to take a point because he's doing it, it's it's a little bit over the top. And then to call him a piece of shit, which, sorry kids if you're watching, it's what he called him, is I don't think, from either party, I don't think Dan wants to referee Michael again, and I don't think Michael will ever have him refereeing those fights. So it's an unfortunate situation, but Michael Venom Page still highlight reel knockout, and hopefully I think he's going to make his way back up that ladder at 170. He poses a lot of problems for a lot of guys, and Douglas Lima knocked him out cold, took advantage of Michael getting up the wrong way after being kicked in the leg, and a beautiful kick to set it up. But still, I think Michael will challenge at some point for that 170 title. Then you had James Gallagher, man, doing what James Gallagher does. Short notice opponent. All the pressure in the world after the devastating knockout he received the last time I think they were in Dublin. They might have been MSG for that card. I'm not sure. But that's all the pressure in the world. In your backyard, Conor McGregor-esque pressure when Conor was on his rise and fought in Dublin. And, man, he just gets the job done right away. Roman Salazar walks right forward into a guillotine, tries to scoop up a takedown against a guy like James Gallagher, who's a submission artist. Probably not the best idea, but, hey, man, go big or go home, I guess, if you're Roman Salazar. But Gallagher gets a phenomenal guillotine, gets it in deep right away, and gets the tap, I think, 30 seconds into the round. So, huge win for him. Great card. 228 was I shouldn't say it was a stinker. It was a good card. But I didn't get to see a ton of it. I just watched the Pitbull fight, and he dominated Juan Archuleta, and that's rough because Juan Archuleta is an Orange County guy, and he's a beast. He's an absolute freak. I know he trains with TJ, but hey, man, Pitbull, when your cardio isn't enough to beat a guy like Pitbull, and then all of a sudden his skills are better, that's because Juan Archuleta's whole game plan was to push him. And for most guys, that'll work. If you can break a guy, you don't have to be as skilled as he is. But Pitbull had the cardio to hold up, and then the skills were there the entire time. So a dominant decision for him. But, yeah, we had a great weekend of fights, guys. To recap, we talked about Jared Cannonier's freakish power and his ability to understand and evolve as a fight goes on, right? His ability to realize the tendencies in his opponent, or to realize the game plan being put out by his opponent and to counter that in real time. Couple that with the fact that he has insane, inhuman power at 185. He hits like a heavyweight, and his ability to keep calm in really high pressure situations. The guy is a contender, folks. I'm telling you. UFC 243 coming up, an insane card. We just started the embedded, so we're gonna get an inside look all week. We won't be live streaming it. Unfortunately, I have to work. Is what it is, guys. But November 2nd, big time streams. Big time streams. Oh, Shogun. Yeah, let me get you guys' opinion really quick. Thank you for reminding me. What would you guys... So, news with the podcast. Obviously, a lot going to be changing. Got the new video set up for people that are on the iTunes or the Spotify right now. Go check out the YouTube. We have crisp 1080p video on the video podcast right now. But outside of that, I'm thinking about going toward a recorded version of the podcast. I think I'm going to go away from the live streams. Really quick, Josh. I did see Spence and Porter. Porter brought it, man. And because Porter's an athlete, he was an athlete before he started boxing, he comes with such a different style. He's in your face. He's throwing punches in bunches. He's ducking. He's dipping and rolling in places that you wouldn't necessarily, for his style, like a southpaw, think he's going, like he's switching stances and he's throwing punches that you would think would be orthodox, but he's throwing them out of southpaw position. But I'll tell you, man, Errol Spence is a guy that just deals with it all, doesn't he? He put on he outboxed Porter, but Porter had it. He hit him more than anybody ever has. He had success, but it shows you what level Spence is on to be able to recognize what he's seeing and still land big shots and to put Porter down on a hand. Like it was, I think he put him down on one hand. His level's insane. The Crawford fight's the fight to make. There's no doubt about it at this point. I don't know if that fight gets done because boxing is boxing, but a dog fight, man. An absolute war between those guys, and Porter will be back. He gives Spence some problems, so I'd love to see that fight again down the road. But, sorry. what would you guys think about me going toward a recorded podcast during the week? And this is why I say it. This is exactly why I say it. So I come home from training at 2 o'clock. I then have to start working on, because I work the night before, I come home, and this is before I'm at work, I'm doing some business stuff outside of this. So I do the business stuff in the morning. I go to train. I come back. It's 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, I now have to re-input all the stuff, edit the thumbnail, redo the thumbnail, get all the stuff together, and I'm rushing. So by 3:30, I have to be ready for the podcast, and the podcast has got to go live right then. And I have to make sure that I have a concise, like thought out, podcast to give you guys, something that I think is an important topic, something I think you guys can gel with and have a good conversation with me, and it's cohesive, and I can do it, with you guys. But the problem I'm having is the channel as we have it right now isn't growing the way I'd like it to grow. I think we've been stuck on like 140 to 150 subscribers after, honestly, it was Kelsey. Took us from like 80 one night from the to like 140 with the Holly Holm Cyborg fight. And I think that for us to, and it's not just about subscribers. It never will be just about subscribers. I do want to grow this channel, though. I do want to stop, working in certain jobs that I work. I'm tired of it, and I want to do the things that I love, and this is what I love, doing this with you guys. So with that being said, my idea would be to do 2 pre-recorded podcasts per week. When I say pre-recorded, I would just record them on like a time that's better for me, where I can sit down here and do a good hour or a good 45 minutes that's concise and straight to the point. Maybe on like a Monday night or a Tuesday night when you guys aren't necessarily awake, which is unfortunate. But if you're not awake anyway, then I can just get these out to you. And not only can I do that, but then I can re-upload, or before, whenever, I can upload the segments of that podcast. So, for example, say I do a podcast next week and I record it, and then I want to take like a 7 or 8 minute excerpt out of that podcast and upload it first. And then later in the day, upload a 10-minute excerpt of that podcast. And then the next day, upload a 9-minute excerpt. Like, do that 2 or 3 times, like 2 of those a day for 2 days. Then upload the actual podcast. This is on YouTube, by the way. I'd upload the actual podcast in its entirety on Apple Podcasts, whatever, when I upload the video one. And then I do that again on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And then we have the Friday and Saturday coming up. And then Saturdays, we stick with the live stream reactions. What do you guys think about that? Promote your channel on other platforms like Facebook, link to the videos. Yeah, I do all of that. Unfortunately now, Josh, it's just, like, my Instagram isn't not to say like, oh, I have a bunch. My Instagram has like like around 2,000 followers, stuff like that. So I do that, but it doesn't seem to grab the attention in long form. I know you guys love long form. I love long form, and there's a market for that, and there's an audience base I know will like that. But I think that the shorter segments, concise. Talking about, like, say I did today, if I wanted to do that, I could just have a segment talking about ISREAL ADESANYA, Robert Whitaker, segment talking about Michael Venom Page, segment talking about Jared Cannonier. Have all those out. I think that's the better way to go. You should do recorded podcasts with your training partners. That is in the works, Shogun. In the works. I am, like I said, I'm not going to walk into the gym and be, hey, I'm the podcast guy. Come do an interview. But I am starting to mention that I have a podcast, and there are some fighters at the gym that have been receptive to possibly coming on. But I want to do it in the studio that you guys will see on November 2nd. So stay tuned for that, because that studio is insane. Luckily, I know the gentleman that owns it really well. He's my boss. So, yeah, that's coming soon. But I think that's the way, maybe starting next week, that's the way we're going to start our podcast, is we're going to start doing, like I said, record them on a Monday night or a Tuesday night or something like that. Or probably a Monday night, Monday night. And then record those, put out segments on Tuesday, maybe 2 segments on Tuesday, 2 segments on Wednesday, record on Thursday, or maybe record on Wednesday as we're putting out segments. Drop the full one Wednesday, and Thursday drop segment and segment, Friday segment, and then Saturdays we can do our live streams. I think that's the best way for us to grow, and I think that'll be the best way for me to get quality content to you guys in a, like I said, more concise form, And if you guys love I know I love the live chat atmosphere with you guys to be able to go back and forth. If you still love doing that, please get on Twitter. I'm on Twitter all the time. If you see anything that I retweet, tweet. If you don't have Twitter, then I'm on Instagram. You can hit me in the comments. I respond to everybody in the comments regardless. There's some people that get in my comments that say some weird shit, and I respond. So you guys can always hit me in the comments. Shogun's always hit me in the comments. So yeah, and I love the live streams, so we will do them on fight days. That way I can go back and forth with you guys and we can talk in real time about real fights happening right in front of us, right? But yeah, that's what I think is the way we're going to do from starting next week. So be on the lookout for that. And that was kind of the reason we upgraded our visuals as well. So that was the surprise news, along with obviously the new setup. And I think we're going to be doing a little bit with all this back here too. I know I love my boy Connor being here, but if you guys can see this is foam padding. And for the people, again, obviously not watching YouTube, I have like a half foam pad wall, half regular wall. So we're going to try to clean that up. And yeah, we're going to try to make some improvements because like I said, I love my community. I love you guys so much for taking the time out to be in here with me and have a good chat and talk about some fights and shoot the shit and do whatever we do, man. But I'd like to see a lot more of us do it. And I think that you guys would do the same. I think you guys would love to talk back and forth amongst yourselves too. I've seen you guys do that in live streams before. So I think that's a big deal for you guys. It's a big deal for me. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the W.A.D.E concept. If you're new here, we talk about MMA. We talk about people punching and kicking and elbowing and kneeing each other in the face, body, limbs, whatever. We also talk about people getting choked, getting leg locked, getting guillotined, arm barred, all the good stuff. Painful things that we do for entertainment. Well, we watch it for entertainment, and we talk about it. So if you're interested, subscribe to not only YouTube, but to the Apple Podcast, to the Spotify. Hit the like button if you like what we're doing. If you like it so much that you feel like you want to leave me a review, please do that, because it helps out in ways you couldn't even imagine. Ways I don't even know that it helps out. It helps out. The overlords in the cloud at Apple told me that it helps out. So please do that. But thank you guys so much. This is the W.A.D.E concept. And like I said, if you're new, we are debating everything. Shogun, thank you for being in here. Josh, my man, always a good time. We had one more in here, and it was an old friend. Brazilian-American patriotic soldier, my man, Pots and Pans. Thank you all for being in here. We will see you. Let's do Friday for predictions. We will see you Friday. Everybody, peace. Have a good one.